All right, everyone.
Hey.
So
Let's get ready to rumble.
if you're at NAB, there's probably a couple of big news stories. One of those is, of course, the all-new Smoke that we announced on Sunday. It's been getting a huge amount of buzz and attention. We've had packed theaters all day. And we can stand up here all day and talk about how great it is, but I think what's really interesting is seeing kind of what the industry thinks about it a little bit, and also talking about, you know, one of the reasons we redesigned Smoke was to try to meet the needs of editors. I think it's been a tumultuous year, to say the least, for folks in the professional video market. And I think there have been a lot of changes that we certainly looked at and talked to people about when we decided to re-architect Smoke and try to create this new solution for connected editing and effects. So I decided to ask some folks from the industry to come up. So we have the creative genius behind Biscardi Creative Media, Walter Biscardi, also known from Creative Cow. I think you're the most prolific poster there, or one of them.
Yeah,
For
something
sure.
like that. I don't know, 20,000, whatever. I have a lot of time on my hands, apparently.
Wow. yeah, he's actually texting from his pocket
I
right
am.
now.
Wait, I'm going to start tweeting right from here. What
We
the
also
heck?
have Evan Scheckman, the CTO of Radical Media in New York. Evan's been helping us out quite a bit, but Evan brings a great industry perspective on everything from the editorial process to the finishing process.
All right, everybody, wave. Wave. There we go.
You're
Thank
going to
you.
get a live tweet.
Yeah, we're going to tweet right from here.
How cool is that?
Totally.
And we also have Marc-Andre Ferguson, who is the Smoke industry manager. But more than that, Marc-Andre is working for Autodesk because of what he brings to us. You know, we want to understand the market, and we have great technology and great engineers. But Marc-Andre is actually the leader of the Final Cut Pro user group in Montreal. So for us, it's extremely valuable to have Marc-Andre working with us to help validate, make sure that the solutions we're putting out there really do meet the needs of the market and of the professional editor. So
We also win all the stuff at the Super Meet.
yeah, so
Exactly.
welcome, gentlemen. So I just want to start out. I have a feeling I can ask one question, and then I'll probably walk away for 30 minutes. But
What?
you know, I wanted
Yeah,
to
we
start.
did that yesterday.
Walter, since you're our special guest here, tell us what do you think of what we've announced with Smoke? You've seen it. You've had a close,
Yeah, I've seen
close
it.
look.
Basically, it's everything that I told Marc-Andre that I wanted to see about 9 months ago. Seriously, 9 months ago, he gave me Smoke 2012. I opened it once, I closed it, I opened it again, I closed it. He kept pushing me. He's like, try to use it. And I said, look, here's the problem. It's too confusing. I'm going to have to train somebody how to use it, and it's $15,000. And I'm not going to tell somebody else to go out and buy $15,000 software that, one, they need to learn, and then, two, they have to keep using it or you're going to forget how to use it. So I said, give me a simple editor's interface that I understand, fix some of this node stuff so it flows along a little easier, and makes a little more sense in my After Effects brain and my Final Cut Pro and Avid brain. And last Thursday, he called me up and goes, here's the new Smoke. And I literally got up and down. I was running around like a little girl. I grabbed a laptop. I'm running down the hallway to show my editors. And I'm like, Smoke, Smoke, Smoke. It was that exciting. And it was really everything that I've wanted to see in a nonlinear editor.
Well,
Evan?
Well, I was going to ask Evan now to set the record straight. Evan, your facility purchased Smoke in the previous incarnation.
Yes.
But we, of course, gave you a preview of the new Smoke as well and let you use it in some production testing.
Absolutely. You know, as much as we liked 2012 and it was a really important to kind of the end of the editing pipeline, it was definitely going to be an uphill battle of getting people trained or finding freelancers from the market. So as much as the budget was actually there for a low number of seats, it was going to be pretty tough to get it into the flow because, and then Walter, you really put it best. By the way, when Walter and I agree on something, that's usually just
That's really
pressworthy
good.
unto
That's
itself.
really good. If you remember last year, we didn't agree on much.
No,
Yes.
we were frenemies. Now we're actually friends. Brought together,
We were always
by
friendly.
Smoke.
We didn't agree, but we were always friendly.
That's true.
Yes, I'm going to sit like this.
So the barrier of entry at different parts of the process have been completely eliminated. And it's funny, in a vacuum, Walter and I used the same word. We were giddy. Because for 10 years, year over year, when we talked to the different NLE manufacturers, we kept saying, okay, what's beyond the track-based workflow? What's beyond the track-based workflow? And each year, not that I'm knocking it, because we get great features from them, we got features that suited them and their future pipeline. And I felt like as time went on, we had less and less of a voice that had any effect on the product. And then, and so we were already on board with 2012, and I got a snapshot of 2013, and knew immediately the impact that would have. Not to mention, 2 seats turns into buying 8 seats.
Well, so one of the things we've been talking about are some of the changes in the industry, and I think that there's a certain pressure that the guy sitting in the editor's chair feels as technology goes crazy around him. People are shooting more, clients are expecting more. Now everyone's going to expect 4K after NAB this year. So can you guys talk a little bit about that? What is the life of the editor today in terms of having to deliver effects? And
I mean, the editor's not the editor anymore. The editor's the compositor, the graphic designer, the sound designer. He's the everything man. And, I didn't really, I was always pushing for it. I always wanted a nice suite of tools. That was one of the things I really missed. When they went Final Cut 10, I said, oh, I like the suite of tools. I can jump from one thing to the other. The super app will never work. And then I saw this, and I went, okay, this is interesting because it is a super app, and it is snappy. And by the way, it's running on an iMac, which that blew me away, first of all, that you could do all of this with an iMac. And what I love about the whole thing is that it always comes back to the timeline. The whole thing is designed around the timeline, which is something that us as an editor, Final Cut Pro, Avid, Adobe, whatever you've used, it makes sense. You see the timeline, you go, okay, I can work with this. I want to do color grading. Boom, now the whole interface just switches to a color grader. I want to do effects. It switches to the effect panel, but it always comes back to the timeline. So to me, it's something that an editor who's used anything can pick up in about 20 minutes to a day.
Something like that.
Something like that.
I mean, if you know Final Cut Pro, or Avid Media Composer, or Premiere, you can jump into Smoke really, really quickly. Because it was designed to be as familiar as possible to nonlinear editors, so you wouldn't have the learning curve of learning how to edit with our software, but actually jump into its effects capabilities faster. That was the whole point of the redesign. We wanted to make it as familiar as possible.
And how long did this take for you guys to actually do this?
I'd say several years. Ever since we started shipping Smoke on the Mac, which was in December 2009, the first version came out. We're all happy that we were leveraging the power of our tools and putting it into the hands of Final Cut editors, Media Composer editors, and After Effects artists. And we saw that there was still this learning curve. There was still this this mystique around this tool that people thought it was very interesting, it was very powerful, but not enough people for us took the leap and went into investing in a big Smoke solution. So we wanted to bring it to their level without compromising its power. So that's very important. We made Smoke under the hood actually better than what it used to be, but gave it a friendlier and more easy to use interface.
I think you said it best. Evan said it yesterday or Sunday. It was like the sexy girl at a party that you're always scared to walk up to because she's super cool. Because, the Smoke artists, like, they would walk in and they're like the fighter jet pilots.
That's right.
And we're like the guys flying the little Cessna. We're like, oh, man, I wish I could be the Smoke guy because they're so cool. Look at what they do.
Then we found that the hot chick is into editors, and now
exactly.
it's a wonderful marriage. I think that a lot of editors in our facilities, content creators, artists, whatever you want to call them, I think they get suite fatigue. I'm not even kidding, in that these suites of software, and it's happening again right across the hall, they keep expanding out with more and more and more in the package. And I think that they cannot put all their thought equity in one place. And so I don't think that they're like the jack of all trades but master of none when it comes to suites. Now, to jump into a niche sound product to take care of something that, obviously you're going to go to a bigger desk to do it in some situations, I just didn't see anyone getting the aggregate value out of suites anymore. Yes, they would leverage all the different pieces of it. All right, DVD authoring, sure, for whoever does Blu-ray authoring. And
we
some
do.
Of the some of the core, of course, it's still a deliverable. So those are the parts of the process, right, that people were leveraging. But all the different niche pieces of it, I didn't see as really adding an immense amount of value to it, because there's just no way that one person has enough time to be expert on all of it. Whereas here, when you fold it all inward, that person can really sit in one environment and become the master of the rooms within the environment. I think it's more likely that we're going to see people being able to raise the bar personally because thought equity is in one spot.
So I have a question for you guys, because one of the things that's interesting about Smoke, I think, as far as making it unique, is it does bring everything together. I think you can choose to edit in Smoke, or you could work with something like Final Cut and then bring it in. And I'm curious if you guys have a philosophy of how you see it fitting in your facility, because I suspect it might be a little different for both of you based on
That's
your
cats and
workflow.
dogs. Yeah.
Yeah, we're like different there. Go ahead. Why don't you start?
Well, for us, right
And I'll
now,
tell them why you're wrong.
That's right. Thank you. I'm used to that. It's healthy.
We forgot the drinking game paradigm.
It's very healthy.
Dude, yeah.
So, right now it's one flavor of Final Cut. It's Final Cut Slow, or Final Cut 7, or Final Cut 10. in our environment. And it depends on the size of the job right now because Final Cut 10 is an unfinished piece of business. But for us, you're not going to take all of the time and workflow that has been developed over a decade. The assistants understand the flow. The engineers get involved in workflow and ingest. The producers understand that flow. We're not going to change that overnight, right? I use the metaphor of turning an aircraft carrier. It doesn't turn on a dime. It takes some time. And transition on any product takes time, which is why I'm really glad you guys are releasing it in June as a free public beta, because it's the same thing with Final Cut 10. Although it's released and a lot of people would call it beta, it's turning that ship. And so for us, those tools we have more people on board who understand how to organize material, superimpose greater value on that material with meta tagging or labeling of stuff in bins. They tell their stories quickly in that tool, but importantly for us is using XML, very deep XML. And in Smoke, it's native. So there's no third-party step going between the storytelling tool and ingest of the project into Smoke, and then you can change your hat and then and put the coat of polish and finish. So for us, it's some flavor of Final Cut Pro, protecting that story and the work that we've done, and then bringing it over to Smoke for a finish.
And for us, the most important thing right off the bat was to make sure that it still works in my infrastructure. So I didn't want to get this $34.95 tool and then suddenly have to upgrade my storage and upgrade my computers and upgrade everything.
And video cards.
And video card and everything. So it works with all of my native infrastructure, including my Ethernet-based SAN from Smalltree. I mean, if you guys follow me, you know I use Ethernet-based storage, which only runs about 100 megabytes a second. And one of the neat things that Smoke now does, it allows you to choose your render format, and you can choose ProRes instead of rendering the DPX for everything. And that was huge for me because I don't want to make a tremendous new investment. Now, I know a lot of you have heard that I'm going to be buying some Avids as well, and Smoke is going to fit right into that workflow. We're going to be starting up some reality series, and what I see happening in the near term, probably before the end of the year, I have 5 full-time employees. I think what's going to happen is those 5 full-time employees are all going to have their own Smoke workstation. And when they're doing a job, they're going to go Smoke end-to-end. When we're doing a reality series, I'm going to have a bunch of iMacs with Media Composer on them. And they're going to go ahead and cut the story and get the story told, and then we're going to move them into the Smoke to finish. So we're basically going to have a Smoke end-to-end and then an Avid to Smoke workflow.
So can you guys tell me a little bit about your media workflows? Like, it doesn't have to be specific to Smoke, but what we've been talking and showing a lot is Smoke working on a variety of configurations. But if you look at what AJ is doing with their Thunderbolt technology, you know, the Quad is a good example of capturing or 4K acquisition. Looking at what Marc-Andre has been demoing over on the Red booth showing Smoke. What are your clients asking you to deliver? Is it all HD? Or are they asking for higher? Are you acquiring high res?
I deliver 2 Beta SP tapes a month.
That's not true.
That is absolutely 100% true. Seriously. Beta SP
I'll believe
now.
that.
I wish I was
They
delivering
still work.
3/4. It'd be even funnier.
I still have one in my closet. If you want to buy it, I have one in my closet.
Do you really? Yeah.
Yes.
I want a Quad machine so bad.
It's 17 years old, but it still works.
One of the beauties of it, we do this series called This American Land, and we have stringers all over the country, and they shoot every single format under the sun. So doing the native resolution editing is going to be really big for us. That's going to cut down some time. Because right now, like on Avid, we have to conform everything over to make it nice and smooth all the way through. But we'll probably move that series into the Smoke. That'll be our full-time editors working on that. And then that's all delivered to HD Cam. We're not going into the film and the 2K yet. I believe you are, right? You're delivering to that?
Yeah. Well, it depends on the commercial work or music video work. We did the Sting concert, which his 60th birthday concert, and that was Red Epic 5K HDR, but delivering in 1080. And the thing that was amazing for us is obviously being able to shoot that large but deliver to 1080. There were shots of Lady Gaga where we blew up 300% and no one can tell. So it turned a 6-camera job into an infinite number of camera job that way. But even stuff like that, and I think our work is similar in that way, that if you're doing documentary storytelling, then you have the principal stuff you're shooting on. In our environment, a lot of video is in documentary storytelling is like EX3, right? Sony EX. As primary camera. Second shooter is usually like a Canon 5D Mark II or possibly even the new Blackmagic camera as like a B cam.
That could be fun.
That could be really fun. There's GoPro in there when we suction cup it to somebody or something. And then there's all the legacy footage, which comes from everything from 3/4, which is the work of the devil, VHS, DV, or whatever it is to tell the story. And so that's where I keep making this joke that ProRes is the Esperanto of the post-production world. So a lot of legacy stuff comes in as ProRes, but we do want to keep a lot of the EX and the red. We want to keep that native. And so really there is a mix. And every NLE pretty much has codec coexistence and frame rate coexistence and frame size coexistence. That's no different in Smoke. And so that continues just to support the kind of mess that exists in our timeline. And it supports it natively there as well.
And the interesting aspect also of Smoke is that it's totally resolution independent. So we've got a client like Glyph, for example, that makes these video walls for museums, for exhibits, and these totally immersive experiences. And they build all of this in Smoke based on several layers of HD or weird resolutions from all sorts of cameras. And it blends seamlessly, and it makes this interesting format that you feed to video playout servers. So, you know, obviously, working in Smoke for that is interesting. Resolution independence is key.
So tell me a little bit, what do you guys, you know, I think all three of you are very well established. You guys have facilities that you either own or owned and transitioned into Radical.
I'm a sellout.
Yeah, you sell.
Yes.
Yourself.
I've heard
Nice
that about
problem
you.
to have.
Yes.
And Marc-Andre,
Right.
you know, you've got industry experience. You're working for Autodesk now. But what do you recommend to folks that are kind of starting up, you know, trying to get into this game? I know, Evan, you've spoken about it a lot. But,
Yes.
you know, what's the path?
I mean, from a freelance point of view,
Sure.
or just getting into the industry?
I think more for, you know, if you're trying to be that professional level editor, you want to move beyond kind of the prosumer level. Like, what's a path? This is not really a Smoke question. I just think it's an interesting discussion to have with you guys.
Well, I mean, for me, I started out in news. I started out at CNN. And then from CNN, I went on, believe it or not, to the largest casino in the world, Foxwoods Resort Casino in Connecticut, of all places. And that's where I learned that I could design a facility and manage a facility. And then I came back down here and started my own place. And everybody always asks me that, how do I get into business? How do I get into business? And one of the best ways is just to be annoying. If you keep pestering me, eventually I'm going to say, sure, come on and do an internship. But, you know, today everybody's got access to cameras. Everybody's got access to some sort of editing tool on an iMac or a Windows machine. Just start cutting. I mean, there's a lot of stuff on YouTube that's amazing. What I'm always looking for is storytelling. We do all documentary work. And if you send me a reel with a lot of motion graphics on it, I'm not really going to look at it that much. I'm looking for somebody who can just tell a story, cut a story. And that was the one thing that actually was missing in this tool that this is now going to let us do with 2013. But if you want to get in the industry, you, to me anyway, just keep cutting. Watch movies. Why do you like that cut? Why do you like the pacing of that film? Just start cutting anything and everything. And when you think you've got something to show, like somebody like Evan or me or anybody, just start emailing and pestering the heck out of people and say, hey, I've got a link. It's up on YouTube. Go look at it.
It actually, unfortunately, does work, the pestering. Now that I've just welcomed, I just changed my email address 20 minutes ago. I actually we do a lot of tours with film schools. And I tell the people right when they walk in that they have an unprecedented level of access to software that did not exist 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Just to run down the list. There's a version of DaVinci Resolve available for free. This is a beta starting in June that's immediately available. Every Adobe app is available for a free download with an email address. We know that email addresses are so hard to get. Final Cut Pro 10, just roll your clock back.
You know, this is going out over the
That's right.
interweb. Nicely done, my friend.
Just trash your preference file. They want it to spread like a disease. So, you know, Pro Tools, it's the same thing. Avid, it's the same thing. If you want it bad enough, there is absolutely nothing standing in your way of downloading it, locking yourself in a room, if you're that disciplined, and putting yourself through the motions of reading the manual or the tutorial, which is terribly boring, and then going out and shoot your friend's band, shoot a wedding, shoot a party, shoot something. Because as soon as you do a tutorial, you need to follow it up as quickly as possible with exercising it, or you will forget it. So the problem is for people who run facilities from a technical perspective, and Walter's absolutely right, that creativity is still king, that I have an elevated expectation of what someone will know when they knock on the door. Especially like, I want to do visual storytelling. Well, then my question will be, do you know Smoke? Do you know After Effects? Do you understand how to make an editor sing when it comes to the vertical stacking and effects workflow of those tools? If not, shame on you, because there's absolutely no reason. The barrier of entry is gone. It no longer exists whatsoever. And cost really isn't it anymore.
I studied film in film school, and I immediately started a facility.
What? Film?
Yeah,
The
I
who?
did, I did Super 8 film. I cut up black and
actually
white
cut it?
Super
Oh,
8
that's
film.
cool.
You know what? I love that because it was extremely organic. And it's one thing that I always missed in software for a long time. That and the fact that computers were not fast enough for me for several years. I remember the first G4 was the first one actually could move layers around in real time for me. And then I look at a tool like Smoke and I look at the power of computers. And just like Evan was saying, you've got power of extremely powerful computers that are actually affordable now. If you haven't tried the new iMacs, give it a whirl. They're really fast, and they're more affordable. Cameras are more affordable than ever. And just go out and make things. I mean, I also get film students or production students that ask what to do, and I said, did you study art history? That's like usually my first question because they learn the software, they don't know how to do compositing in the art sense, the worlds of 3 and stuff like that. Learn that, then learn the software, and then use it. That's the only way that you can get in the business because computer animation schools churn out dozens and dozens of students every year, but all they have is the reel that they made at the school. Just do something for fun. That is actually worth more in experience than anything else.
And I hate to say it, but we are out of time.
That was
Really?
fast.
Wow.
It went
That
really
was- that
fast.
was-
I mean,
wow.
unless my phone is wrong, but
we didn't
I
even
know
get to do our
Ken
dance
speaks
number.
really fast. So
Should we
can-
just do it real quick? No. That would be so ugly.
We're gonna have a hug?
Because the last time I tried to lift you, that just went bad.
Embarrassing.
That was bad. Really bad.
Well, so you guys can stick around for a few minutes if
Surely.
some folks want to
Sure,
have some questions
sure.
and come on up. But
Sure, why not?
one of the things, a highlight of tonight at the Super Meet, I think it's going to be the best demo of the night.
You're doing your
Evan
thing?
and Marc
Marc
Andre.
Andre, yeah.
Oh,
doing my
Marc
thing.
Andre's doing it.
No, they're both going to be up there together.
Oh, they're both going to be up there
Final
together.
Cut
Yes,
10 and
we are.
Smoke
In
making
front
sweet,
of
sweet love.
10,000 people. Man, you're going to...
10,000 people.
10,000
No
people.
pressure,
Yeah,
no
that's how big it
pressure.
is this year. It's huge.
No way.
And Walter's
It's
going to
huge.
base his buying decisions on how well your demo goes. So I just want to.
Yeah.
No
Okay,
pressure.
okay.
Yeah.
No
But,
pressure.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys. This is fantastic.
Thanks for having
I
us.
encourage you all
Thanks,
to
guys.
check out Smoke. Autodesk.com/smoke-trial. In June, you'll be able to get a full working copy. We're going to get Walter a copy so he can come back and get on Creative Cow and tell us what he thinks of it when he puts it into his facility.
Yeah.
And
can't
we're
wait.
just we're
be
just glad
awesome.
you're all hanging out. So let's cue up
Yeah.
some videos and
Gonna
we'll
run it
be
on my
back. Thanks,
Amiga.
guys.
Thank you.
The new Smoke